Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt man! All right! Episode 298 of Shirt Show! We're talking with Marshall from Atkinson Consulting in Arizona! Let's go!
Hey guys, if you're new here, my name is Dylan. I am the owner of Upstate Merch and the host of the Shirt Show podcast. My guest today was Marshall Atkinson. He's been around for forever. If you've been to a trade show, if you've been in seminars or something, you've seen him, you've heard of him. He's been around. We've been poking around about possibly doing an episode for a long time, and we decided to make that day today. We kind of jumped all over the place. We had a lot of conversations about how he got to where he is, you know, and what it means to work in a large shop and get things going smoothly. And he kind of took all that information over whatever 18 years of doing that to now consulting with people. So basically, Marshall's whole thing was like, you can't run a profitable shop without having all of the data. So we talked about that quite a bit. And then I talked about my own situations. And then it went off the rails because then I started talking about everything. So it's kind of a chaotic episode, but it's a fun one. If you're listening to this episode or you're watching this episode, one of the best things you can do to support us, if you like it, is to share, tell your friends, post a thing on Instagram stories and let me know where you are and what you're doing when you're listening to it. That helps. It's cool. If you hit the like or subscribe, or if you could leave a review on like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, again, huge help. We have a growing community for the newsletter. It's awesome. I appreciate all of you, and your feedback is amazing. If you want to sign up, go to shirtshowofficial.com/newsletter. I write one every week. It's about what's going on with my shop and me. It's about shop hacks and industry news and articles. There's a ton of stuff in there. So check it out. Go to shirtshowofficial.com/newsletter, or you can just go to shirtshowofficial.com and a thing pops up and says, hey, I want the newsletter. So do that. That would be awesome. I'd appreciate it. And also too, if you do get the newsletter, email me back. Let me know what you think. Give me some feedback. I would love to hear from you. The Shirt Show would not be possible without our amazing partners. It all starts with a screen. Whether it's new stretches or restretches, Frank and his team do it the best. To find out more, go to graphicscreenfashion.com, greatfuckingscreens.com, or ffffrank.com. I did have somebody reach out to me on Instagram to say that they, they heard our episode about a tension meter, and then they bought one and they tried it out on their screens, and they found out that they had some pretty low tension all around. And then they called Frank and talked to him, and he educated them a little bit. And I'm excited to say that they're going to be trying out some GSF frames, which are the best. So if you haven't done any of that yet, you should just give them a call. Buy a couple, get a 6-pack, try them out. It's going to change your mind, I promise you. Cleaning screens is no fun, but EasyWay makes it way more funner. Their line of eco-friendly chemicals and equipment make reclaiming screens a whole lot easier. Right now is a great time to check them out because they have a monthly giveaway where you have a chance to win $250 in product credit. Head over to easyway.com/giveaway to enter today. EasyWay, it's the easiest way. Graphics is the source for production-ready digital art and remote art staffing. They can help any size shop from just starting out to enterprise level. Looking to add a hero to your art department? Check them out at graphxsource.com. Again, guys, if you are struggling with art, keeping up, if you have a complicated step you need done, just try them out. You can get a la carte. You can get just one job done, or you can get a file digitized for embroidery. They'll do just one thing. But if you were looking to add somebody to your art department, then kind of take over the whole thing as far as SEPs and anything to do with art, mock-ups, whatever, you can hire them and they'll do it for you. Check them out at graphxsource.com. SNS is your premier partner in the apparel industry. With one website, one purchase order, 14 distribution centers, and over 100 beloved brands, you can streamline your ordering and hit free freight faster than ever. SNS has 1 to 2 day shipping with the lowest error rate in the industry. Be sure to order your blanks from ssactivewear.com. Today's episode is brought to you by American Apparel, makers of the iconic 2001. Soft, fitted, and always in style, this shirt has been the go-to for brands, bands, and print shops for decades. If you want a shirt people actually want to wear, start with the iconic 2001. For over 90 years, Stahls has been the leading choice among apparel decorators for their heat transfer materials, heat press equipment, and custom transfer services. Not only do they offer some of the best products, but they're always looking to innovate and educate our industry on all things heat press. Head over to stahls.com to order your transfers and check them out on YouTube to be taught a thing or two. They also just had a sweet event that I didn't get to go to, and I was pretty jealous. It was a print-on-demand event, and I think the speakers seemed great and all the education was great. Christina got to go. She filled me in on a lot of it. So again, it just goes to show the amount of education that they put into our industry. So you should support them and check them out. Stahls.com. Ryan has always been that solid go-to resource for screen printers. Not only are their supplies super reliable, but their network of education and support is next level. Whether you're figuring things out or fine-tuning your process, they've got your back. Check them out at screenprinting.com. And just all around great dudes. That's all. Again, guys, I want to say this because I talk about it in the episode real quick, but I think like my outlook for 2026, I'm just trying to be as positive as possible. And I'm just trying to put good vibes out there. I'm not I'm not into like crystals and stuff or like looking at the moon or whatever. I'm sorry if you are, but just being positive in general has been like such an impactful thing so far this year. It's making me want to better myself, better my business, better my friendships, whatever. So thank you all for listening to the show, giving me feedback, letting me know how the show is impacting you. If you have anything you want to talk about or just get things off your chest or figure things out with your screen printing shop, hit me up, reach out, at Shirt Show Official on Instagram, or you can send me an email or you can something with a newsletter. Just reach out. I appreciate you all. Thank you for listening. Enjoy the episode. What's up, sir?
Hey.
Look at this backdrop. You're so professional. You got fucking books and stuff.
Yeah,
You're like the only printer I know that has books.
I've read them all too.
Yeah, right. That's a poster. It's a hologram.
Yeah. How are you, my friend? Good?
I'm all right. Yeah, it's been a day. It's been a day of scheduled meetings and whatnot. I had our internet provider out here installing stuff, and I had to pick my kid up from school, and I had meetings this morning, and it's been a day. So I'm glad we could move this around a little bit. So I appreciate that.
Well, normally, if this was any other day than Thursday, the answer would have been no.
Well, I'm glad it worked out. I know we've been talking about doing this for quite a long time, so we finally got it.
It's all
to
good.
Happen, so.
You know, I'm all about helping in the industry and all that, and getting information out there for people. And I think that you guys do a really good job of that. So
thanks.
You know, and there's a lot of noise and a lot of wrong stuff out there. And I think anytime we can get people who do a good job with it, it's a plus. So
yeah, it's difficult too, because, you know, I don't want to claim that I know anything. You know what I mean? Like I like to just be the conduit of like having the conversation and being able to do it. And there's been many times over the show over the last 6 years of doing it where I've basically publicly apologized of like, I had this idea. I told people this is how they should do it. And then I learned 2 years later, like, hey, don't fucking do it that way.
I'm always, you know, one of the signs of an intelligent person is the ability to change their mind.
Yeah.
And a lot of people get, especially politicians, you know, you flip-flopper, you know, no, I just learned something new. You know, so.
I mean, I think, especially with myself, you know, like I've been doing this almost 20 years now, and it's like, you know, the ideas that I had 5-10 years ago aren't necessarily working now. You know what I mean? Like I ran a business for so long and it was flowing and everything was awesome. And then, you know, things change and then people change and things move. And then you're like, oh, well, maybe the free flowing, free spirit way that I ran my shop before doesn't work now.
Well, so, and we could talk about a lot of stuff, but you know, what I'll tell you is as businesses mature and they grow and they start scaling and you start adding headcount, you know, you need to run your shop with more policy and procedures and SOPs, and the people that you started with sometimes get pissed off because they go, well, that's not the way we've always done it here. And it's
right. Like, what are these rules?
Yeah. What's this rules? I can't come in to work stoned. What's up? You know?
Yeah, for sure. So Marshall, we've been in same circles for forever.
Yeah.
I've seen you at just about everything. But I don't know a whole lot about your backstory. Like I know.
Yeah. Well, do you want to
the
get in that
Marshall-
on the show? Or do you want to before the show?
Yeah, I mean we're going now, so
are we?
we're in the middle of it. Yeah.
Hey, there's no welcome to the show. Nothing. There's just,
Fuck no, it's not professional. We don't do that around here. I didn't even introduce you. I don't even do that. Like we just get right into it.
Okay, so you want to know my story? So
well, I mean, like ever since I've been, I feel like most of the time that I've been around, you've been like, consulting and doing the education stuff and whatever. Like I don't know Marshall before that. So that's what I'm asking. Like, can you give the people listening that, the story of how you got to where you are?
I've got tons of stories. So just real brief. So, I went to Florida State University in Tallahassee and I graduated in 1986 with a degree in art. I do photorealistic watercolors. That was my thing. Right. And I got married right out of college, 1987, got divorced in 89 and decided I just got to start over, and so I went to this advisor counselor person that Florida State had and talked about careers and they said, hey, what do you want to do? And I just want to design. I want to do something meaningful. So, hey, why not architecture? And so in Tallahassee is a HBCU, historic black college, right, called FAMU, and they have an architecture department. And I went there to get my master's degree in architecture. And believe it or not, I got a minority scholarship because I'm white. And but I started a T-shirt business to pay for my graduate school. And so I was doing fraternity and sorority stuff. And I hired some of my fraternity brothers to sell for me and was doing pretty good. This is in, 91, 92, right? And I was grossing about 60 grand a semester in sales, which I don't even know what that is now in today's money. But
$10 billion.
Yeah, but this is, I did everything by hand, right? Letter set, rub down letters, and made the camera readies, which is you draw with a blue line and then you ink it. But everything's by hand. It takes forever. I waxed things in with, I went to like the copy center and enlarged something 357.25% larger to strip it a headline in or something. And this thing came out that completely changed my trajectory, which was the Macintosh computer. Okay. And so the guy that was printing my shirts for me said, hey, they were co-owned by an ad agency and they had one of these new Macintoshes, right? And you can go and over Christmas break, why don't you play with it? And they had the screenroom person didn't want to go into computers. The art department didn't want to go to computers. So I was already doing like AutoCAD, 3D movies and all kind of crazy stuff back then. And so I learned over Christmas break how to use Photoshop and this program called Freehand, which is their precursor to Illustrator. It was frankly still better than Illustrator. And so I taught myself this stuff.
So they had Photoshop with the Macintosh, like the early Mac?
Mm-hmm. Yep, Photoshop. Yep. And taught myself these tools just by trying to recreate designs I'd already made, by hand, right? And then on January 3rd, 1993, I started working at the shop as their art director, and I did that for 14 years. But I was never happy with how come the production crew can't print what I'm designing, right? And it's because they didn't measure their tension, which is why they couldn't keep things in registration, and the halftones were always muddy. And I just started looking at all this stuff, and I started. Hold
on here. Just for context, you went from, you had a kind of a quick trajectory of life to, oh shit, I want to do something else. And then you went to architecture school.
Yeah, and just completely.
You were like, I was going to say, well, that's where I wanted to get straight, because you were like, I made t-shirts while I was in school.
I made t-shirts.
And then you just bailed.
Yeah, it was lots of fun. And I think what really moved me is I'm not a math person, and I was having to take some advanced trig stuff and calculus.
Oh, for sure, for the architecture
it was
stuff.
like, I'm an artist that hurts my brain just to think about it.
Yeah.
And I'm really good with a spreadsheet, not so much with that stuff. And I think it was just kind of the easy way out, but I was really having a lot more fun with it, and it looked really enticing. And so that's what I did. And so this company is called T Formation. They're still.
You just went to work for the company that you were having.
Yeah, they were printing my shirts for me.
Okay.
And so, it's a good shop. It's still around. They do great work. And, so anyway, so I worked there, and then, I worked there a month shy of 18 years. And I moved from being their art director into their vice president of operations. And I basically ran the back of the shop and, and solved a lot of the problems, and got into sustainability, actually got them to be the first company in the country to be SGP sustainability certified. But I was a casualty of the recession. That was 2008-9.
Right.
So 2010, I lost my job. I started my consulting business the next day, and then I started going around the country teaching people a bunch of stuff. And then
to go back real quick to your going from art director you said you art director just for 18 years, or being at that company was 14 years.
Yep.
Okay. So I've experienced this to a degree. My Brian, we'll say that, my production artist and whatever, he was a printer first, and then became our art guy who does all the steps and everything. And that was like a huge thing for us, because he knew how certain colors would play on press. Like, this is where the flashes should be. This is where all of this thing is. So my question for you is, how you didn't really talk about production in there at all, other than that you were in the art department doing your thing, and that you were frustrated that the artist, that you as the artist couldn't necessarily convey everything you wanted done to the production. Yeah. Like, how did that play out when you went from that to the shop? Like, was that like, okay, well, now I know like how this should work.
Well, at one point I had a dozen artists that worked for me. Right. And we were a very high volume shop. We printed 1 million shirts a month, kind of a shop. We were the national vendor for Coca-Cola and a bunch of people. And so we're doing a lot of stuff for Nike. We're doing a lot of stuff for a lot of fast food companies and big promo agencies and that type of thing. Right. And so a lot of sim process, a lot of stuff where you really need tight registration, a lot of 4-color process. But the challenges that we had in production were really due to our processes. It wasn't really due to the artwork. It was due to the processes. And that was really frustrating, because we didn't really have good production processes and standards. And so a lot of the
Can you dive into that though? Like, what was the issue?
So,
like what got changed?
So what changed was just really more emphasis about understanding how, it's the basic stuff that everybody goes through. When you can't do what you want, you start finding out, maybe we should buy a tension meter, and how does tension those type of things, right? And really understanding how things work. And so the emphasis for me was really trying to get everybody to play ball with that. And, of course it wasn't only me, Dylan, like there was other people involved here. Right. So
I just had an episode with Tony Palmer where we were talking about how every shop should have these essentials and whatever else. And I think that's kind of the moral of the story, was like, okay, well, if we can use, say these 5 tools, the shop in general should have a baseline. It should be like,
Yes.
okay, well, this is
100%.
the tension we're trying to keep. This is the inks that we're trying to keep. This is why we use this ink. This is why we use this squeegee blade. This is why we do these things. I feel like sometimes shops get in well, we can still print shirts mode. And it's like, well, I have a squeegee over here. It doesn't matter what the duro is. Like, if it doesn't print well, let's just turn up the pressure.
Yeah.
Or let's just use this screen because we have it and it's coated. And you can still print a shirt. It just might not be the quality or the consistency or the whatever that it needs to be.
Exactly.
So when you're trying to do complicated separations, or you're trying to do this butt registration and this and that, like, those things tend to have a lot more issues if your shit's not dialed and where it needs to be. So is that kind of where you came in of like, hey guys, let's dial in all these processes first.
Yeah. Well,
and then a lot of these headaches should go away.
Yeah. Well, it was a long time ago, but the emphasis was really just doing things correctly. Okay.
Right.
And really finding out, okay, what does this mean? And what processes do we need? And really kind of getting everybody to be in alignment with that. Right.
Right.
And, so, there was some just awesome people that worked there. And I think it was, I think people just need sometimes to come together and to try to solve problems, right? And you're exactly right about the need for these standards, right? And as a consultant, a lot of folks still, I'm shocked to this day that they don't measure their tension, they don't own a donut probe, they don't look at things, they don't sharpen their squeegees, or at least replace the rubber, or and they're not recording anything, right? They have no clue how anything happens, and they can't understand how come they're not making any money, right? And all their pricing is just based on all the idiots around us, and I'll just make it 5% cheaper and we're good, right? And they don't understand how come we can't make any money, right? And it's kind of a funny thing, So like a lot of the stuff that I do now as a business coach is because it's 3 decades in the industry, learning all the time from people, right? And hanging out with people who are way smarter and more talented than me, and listening to what they're saying, and that's the benefit for you for the show, I guess, is hearing all this stuff. And
you can say for me, yeah. I mean, that's what I get out of it. I get out of the fact that I get to have conversations with people every week. Yeah. I'm the number one shirt show listener because I get to hear.
Yeah, you are number one.
I get to hear everybody's thing. You know what I mean? So I guess when you decided, like you said, recession, whatever, they had to kind of tight the belt a little bit, and then you ended up going off on your own. Why not start your own shop? Or were you just like, I just want to help people?
Sales isn't my bag, right? And sales is the lifeblood of any shop, right? And I was more interested in making things work than starting something, right? And so I went from Florida to this a much larger shop in Milwaukee, Visual Impressions. And that was a 105,000 square foot shop with 16 autos and 160 heads of embroidery on 2 shifts. And another shop that's printing over 1 million shirts a month. And we just, but 275 to 350 screens a day, every day, kind of a place, right? And so I brought with me a lot of my bag of tricks and stuff, and I was kind of charged with reducing their cost per imprint and tightening things up. And they were a really great shop before I got there, and then the owners, Todd and Jay, really allowed me to do a lot of the things I wanted to do, right? And build and help them build a better shop culture and streamline some processes and get into sustainability, which I'm a big proponent of.
But did you get a reality check a little bit? Because it sounds like you've only ever been at that other place, the T formation place.
I've only worked at 2 shops.
Right. But that's what I'm saying is, did you leave there and go to another one and be like, oh, Like they kind of
Well,
have.
they did things differently, but I brought with them a lot of what I knew, which is about streamlining processes and helping, and like solving some of their problems to get them faster, right? And
Right.
moving things through the shop faster, and in all facets of things, right? They're still they were a good company before I got there. I just kind of helped them like achieve a different level, and
Yeah.
so
What do you think some of that was? Because again, like one of the things that's fun about this show and a lot of the responses I get from people is like they feel motivated to do better, be better, to keep going, because sometimes I'll have a shop on that has 10 autos and I'll have a shop on that has a manual in a garage. Like,
yeah. Well,
and then they find out that the 10 auto guy has the same bullshit problems that they have. And it's kind of like, again, going from a shop that's successful and running well to going to another shop that's successful and doing well. Where are these upgrades? Like, what are the things that they're falling short on too?
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm a big proponent of is as orders come in, it's scheduled. And it so at Visual, we had 16 autos, right? And 2 shifts to use. So it's a lot of people, a lot of crews. Where are we putting things, right? And I'm a big proponent of as orders are coming in, we're going to schedule it to the press on the day it's going to run based on how long that job is going to take. And you have to know 2 things, Dylan. You have to know your daily capacity. What normally do we do on press 1, press 2, press 3, whatever? What do they normally get out? Because usually the crews stick to whatever their equipment is, right? And then how fast are they setting up and how fast are they printing? And I'm a big proponent of setting up under 5 minutes a screen. I'm a big proponent of getting each piece of equipment has its own gravitational pull. Everything comes to them. Nobody on that crew ever walks off. They don't get their ink. They don't get their squeegees. They don't go get the job approved. Everything comes to them because every minute they're not printing is costing your company money.
Yeah.
And so what I like is, your company put in how many jobs yesterday into your system? 10, 20, whatever it was, right? When that job's supposed to ship. So my way of thinking is the day before that job is supposed to ship, it needs to be 100% finished, right?
Right.
And the day it's supposed to ship, all we're doing is shipping. And what I mean by shipping could be customer pickup. It could be UPS or FedEx. It could be a courier. It could be the sales guy getting it and dropping it off, whatever. That's what shipping is, right? So we do everything. So the day business day before, that job is ready to go. And
its must complete date is always the day before. It actually is the must complete.
Now, do we hit that all the time? No, but if we can get 85% of our jobs finished, and then we only have to polybag it or finish the hang tag or whatever, then we're good, better, than normal. Because what happens a lot of times is you can't predict when the 30 mediums don't come in or the power goes off or all the, I used to say all the time, production happens, just stuff happens, right?
Yeah.
But if you can get almost all of your jobs out early, you're going to be way better, right? And so what we want, that's what we're shooting for, right? If we can do it today, we're going to do it today. We're not waiting for tomorrow to do it. Let's do it today. And so one of the great things that Visual did that I really loved was they use ShopWorks, and in the PO field, you can add a $ in the PO field. And so at any given time, if some job needs to be upgraded to expedite that job out for whatever reason, you could do a search for $ in the PO field, and then you can pull up all the jobs that have that designation. And what's really great is if you have every department in your company doing that, okay, they can see what the rush jobs are, right? And it's just kind of like the fast pass at Disney, right?
Yeah.
So I'm in purchasing. What jobs do I need to buy right now? I'm in receiving. What are the jobs I need to receive first before I receive everything else? Screen room, art department, embroidery, screen printing, digital, whatever. If you're running this report as the manager, 2, 3, 4 times a day, you can see what's coming up, and then you're prepared for it, and you just move it up. And this is how you can print and embroider and get 250, 300 orders that are shipping every single day. You can do all of that without ever having a production meeting ever. I'm not a big fan of meetings. I think they're a giant waste of time, especially if you've got a system, right, that you can educate your staff on about how to use it. And then you just have to look in your system. So if you use Printavo or Shopworks or whatever you use, you're a spreadsheet. Doesn't matter. As long as everybody's using the same tool and using it the same way,
right,
we can see what's next. Everybody should know what they're doing next. And that's just how you educate your crew. The goal with that,
I guess, is no matter what system you're using, if you can have a way to identify and search jobs, have something on them that's specific, not just the job title, but like you said, you guys were using a $sign, but like if it was a star, if it was it
doesn't matter,
whatever. As long as it's searchable per day to know these are priority, let's get these done, then that's a huge help just visually. And, it's kind of like a checkbox off the list kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
and then, so the point I'm trying to make here is if you know how long things take and you know that you got your job scheduled, right? And what you can do is, it's real easy to do what I call a scavenger hunt the day before. The day before the job is supposed to run, by starting around noon, you start finding all the things that you have to do tomorrow. So I need my shirts, I need my screens, I need my ink, I need, a special squeegee maybe because you're whatever you need, the samples. Everything is assembled and brought to that piece of equipment, and it's just sitting right there, and it's lined up in the prior order that all these jobs need to run in. So all your crews do is set up a job, take it down, set up a job, run it, take it down, rinse and repeat all day long. They don't have to look for anything because everything is there. And that's the same thing in embroidery. You're pulling the cones of thread for them. Nobody ever has to look for anything. All you're doing is your work right here at this station. And
so that being said, I'm getting what you're saying. A lot of what your proponent is in these large shops is to get all the pre-press done, get all the ink mixing, everything ready to go so that these pods can just grab everything and go and keep printing. So my question is with that, okay, get your mind out of this 14 auto shop and pull it back to a shop that hires you to consult that's got
I've done
one auto, two auto, an auto and a manual, whatever. They don't have enough staff to do pods where they got 2 people on press and then they got whatever. It's more the style of like, hey, the guy on press is also going and pulling the box off the shelf and laying things on a cart and then mixing the ink and everything else. Like, how does that mentality go too? Because they don't have the day before to prep.
Well, they do, right? So what you got to do is you got to figure out how you're going to structure your shop, right?
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt. I just want to ask you, if you're watching this video, please take 2 seconds, hit subscribe, hit like, leave a comment, let me know how the episode's going for you so far, or if there's anything you want to see changed or moved, or someone that you want to have on the show, send it. I appreciate it. Just do those things real quick for me. It's a huge help. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the episode.
So I've been to tons of places where they print Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They do all the prep work on Tuesday, Thursdays. I've been to places where they do all the prep stuff in the morning and they print in the afternoon. It's just whatever is. It's really based on how much work you have, right?
Yeah.
And then how many people do you have at your disposal, right? And of course, when the smaller the shop is, everybody's wearing more hats. You have to do more things,
for sure.
Right? And so you still need to handle all the screens. You still need to do your prep. You still need to get things set up, because let me tell you, if you're not taking care of this, okay, that's when you realize, oh, we didn't burn the underbase screen, or, oh, we didn't mix that ink, or whatever, right?
Right.
Or, do we have all the shirts for this order? Is it received yet? No, right? everything has to happen way in advance. And what we have to have is the processes. Now, I'm a big Mark Coudray fan. I know you know who that is. And one of the things that he talks about a lot is CPR. Do you remember what that is from Mark, CPR?
Dude, I can't remember what I did yesterday. Don't ask me what that is.
Stands for consistent, predictable, repeatable, right? It doesn't stand for cardiopulmonary resuscitation. It stands for
I was going to say, I was just thinking about being dead and having Mark Coudray giving me CPR.
Predictable, repeatable. And that's what we want, regardless of how big your shop is and how many people you have. You want every single thing to happen the same way all the time. So what is your cadence in the morning? What is your cadence during the day? What is the end of the day sequence? Everything should happen the same way all the time, right? In normal manufacturing, right, they make 1 million widgets the same way, right? They're big into that, right? What we do is every single job we do is completely different. But what we have to do we have to do how we approach that the same way, right? So we have lots of variables: the design, the shirt color, the size, the placement, how many locations are you doing, whatever. All of that always changes. But how we think about the job, schedule the job, set up the job, stage the job, get the job approved, all of those things that are always the same, the more that you reduce those variables and get it so it's always the same every single day, the faster your shop is going to run. And so a lot of this is based on data. How long do things take? How long does it take to do a task? Code a screen, expose a screen, tape off a screen, put ink in a screen, whatever. And there's some people who are really good at things and some people who aren't. But what we want is we want to know what that number is. What is that number? And if you know the numbers of the stuff, then you can extrapolate the cost of these things, obviously, because you're paying for that labor for that person to do that. And what does it cost you to make a screen on average, right? And we can determine that. We can determine how long it takes to set up a job, how fast is the press running. In a lot of shops, they have a full crew. Sometimes it's just one guy running an auto by himself, right? And, there's good and bad to all of that, right? And
it's just funny because this goes back to me saying, like, putting my foot in my mouth kind of thing where, 4 years ago, I would say on this show, a guest would be like, "Oh, know your metrics and blah, blah, blah." And I would just sit back and be like, "I don't fucking need to know like half of that. Like, shop's running, things are doing their thing and whatever."
No.
And the funny thing is like, since all this like economy stuff and COVID stuff and whatever else, I realized like there's these holes in the business of like, okay, well, what does this actually mean? What does it take to run this? Let's weed down our staff to the essential people. But then it's like, all right, what do the essential people do? And like, how does this affect whatever? And I've been talking on the show and talking in the newsletter about how now that I'm kind of finding out all this data and I'm going through and making these spreadsheets of like, okay, this is what this is. This is what all my expenses are and everything. Like when I first started it and I was like, man, it's going to be good to know this, but this is boring as hell. Like this is whatever.
The math part of it sucks.
Yeah. But what I'm finding is that you do the first month, it's boring as hell because you're just inputting the first set of data. And that's just kind of like, okay, every day, like what happens with this data in. But then the second month, you start to notice changes because you did it this way. You're like, okay, now I know what's coming. I know how this goes. Even with just expenses, it's like, okay, cool. Now the second month, you're like, well, let me call this company to find out why I'm paying what I'm paying and what this is. And then you realize like, oh, cool, I can change this, move this. I just saved myself like $100 here, $200 here, $500 here, all these things. And then now I'm like addicted to it where I'm like every day, I'm like, what can I fucking change now? Because these things are all coming in. And I like my next step is right now I'm just doing like the business stuff. Like next is what I want to do with like the production stuff or whatever. It's like, okay, let's take notes on this and this. And then now I'm motivated to do it because I know that there's going to be that second, third, fourth month where the refining comes in, and then I'm excited to see the changes. So I think the thinking before was, you know, oh, I don't want to do all this boring whatever. But now I'm like kind of pumped on it because I get to actually see the change that it's making.
What are you seeing that looks weird to you or you feel like you're stuck on?
I don't know if anything necessarily was weird. I just think that, you know, with business being slower or more flat over the last 2 years, I want to see, because like, you know, payroll and stuff doesn't change, but like numbers come down with like sales, and you're like, okay, well, how can I save here or move here? And then it's also like, all right, well, we have all this equipment to do like a crazy amount of printing, but then when it's slow, it's like, all right, well, what should we be printing in a day? What can we accomplish? Like, I feel like when you're slower, you're kind of like, okay, how can I, that's when everyone's like, let's paint the walls. Let's like, you know, refine this process. Let's do research. Let's play with new inks. Let's do this. And I think that's what's happening is now I get to see, okay, what is actually doable? Like I have the time now to put into all these things to be like, how do I refine this and make this better?
When you have capacity, right, that exposes a problem with your sales, right? You're like,
right.
You know, are we going after what does your sales engine look like? Are you doing what you need to be doing with your leads and going out and hunting every single day? And like, what is that like for your company? Who does the sales for you? Do you have a sales team?
Yeah.
And are they not landing and not closing, or are they just, what's going on?
No, I just think that my whole team before was, okay, let's just say like, I don't want to complain too much because I feel like I do that too much. And I've already told the listeners of the show that it's a year of positivity. So I'm not going to pull myself down. I think the thing was, honestly, pre-COVID, it was kind of just fucking like its own thing. Like it just ran, you know, like we had 4 or 5 people that did customer service and like order taking and whatever. And then, at one point I kind of started doing like weekly sales meetings, and we were going through stuff, and I was trying to like implement all this outbound of, okay, we have the shop, and we have my dream shop. I have all the equipment I want. I have everything I want. I have production. We could be bringing more jobs in. Like that's the kind of where I saw myself. I was like, okay, we can add capacity. Like we have enough to do this. And so I started having these sales meetings, and I started doing this, you know, okay, well, this is what outbound's going to look like. And then again, as the owner, when you talk to your employees, they're kind of like, all right, he's full of shit. Like, I don't know where he heard this thing or how he, like, whatever. So the first thing I do is I hire a consultant, and I had Kevin come in from Set Sales and be like, hey, I don't necessarily need this whole whatever. I just need you to teach my order taker, customer service people, like, this is how this should be done. Like, this is the whatever. So he came in and he showed us how to do outbound and all the touch points and all the, how to do everything. And they were like, oh yeah, Kevin, you're so smart and beautiful. And you know, you're so knowledgeable on this thing. I was like, guys, I've been fucking trying to say the same thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but when they hear from somebody else, it's like, oh yeah, that makes total sense.
Well, let me tell you, as a consultant, I hear that a lot. Right. And,
the you're beautiful part. Yeah.
Not that I'm beautiful, is the fact that the owner has been saying something, and then I come in and say it, and it's like, oh, then yeah, you're right. And then, but that guy's been talking about it for a year and a half. Right. And
that's just how it goes. And I mean, I understand that it is what it is, but what I'm trying to say is, did the outbound thing, found out, like Kevin recommended, that basically your inbound customer service people aren't outbound people. Like, there's outbound people, and then there's your order taker, you know, customer service people. Right. And then that's kind of what I found out. I found out that the people that I have doing that, they need to have two systems. There needs to be outbound people, and then there needs to be the customer service order taker people. So that whole shift took place of like, okay, now my mindset is on like, I need people to do the outbound. And then outbound itself is a whole thing where you don't just get a plug and play system like right off the bat. It's like, no, we need to tweak this over a year or more of like, this is how we do it. This is our company's voice. This is, you know, how this goes. And I've been doing that a ton. And I think I'm at a place now where I'm like, okay, I'm past the point of like, I know how to do outbound. Now I'm in the point of, I'm going through all of my current customers and being like, where do they fall in this plan? Like, are they my top tier customer? Are they like middle of the road? Do they order once every couple of years? Like, where do they fall? And now I'm putting all of them in a CRM where I'm giving them like, scoring them on importance and like weeding out people that I'm like, I don't really want to deal with them anymore.
Right.
So then once all that's done, it's kind of like, all right, I've got this system, I've got this play to do all this.
Yeah. Well,
so again, for myself, it's kind of two worlds of production versus the office.
Well, I'm a big believer in this industry, and that if you want larger orders, it's a human connection that you have to have, right?
Oh, for
and you
sure.
can throw hand grenades all the fence all you want with social media posts, but nobody's going to spend any money or money, an order with a comma in it based on what you post on Facebook, right? Like you have to go meet people. You've got to talk to them.
Yep.
You've got to present to them. You have to understand their problems. You have to offer up solutions. You have to be proactive, right? And I think these days, especially with the industry is skewing younger, right? Nobody wants a face-to-face meeting where I have to talk to somebody is the most scariest thing on the planet, right? Nobody ever wants to do that. And I think older folks, like, that's how everything used to, like, it doesn't faze anybody to go meet people, right? And so, I see a lot of companies hiring people in their 30s and 40s for sales rather than somebody in their 20s and 30s, just because they're more apt to go out and get the thing and do it and not be scared of it. And I think it's a generational thing, more than anything.
It's really funny that you say that because Christina went to the print on demand thing for stalls a couple days ago.
Right.
And she had sent me these screenshots of like someone was doing the report, and it was kind of like, millennials were really big on like the promo item they wanted, and the thing that they grabbed to the most was a t-shirt. And then it was like this generation was more towards like polos and whatever. And then it was like this generation. And it's like nowadays, like you said, like the most sold items for them are like hats and stickers. And it's like, and t-shirts is like line item 3. Where, like I said, my generation was like t-shirts. Like everything was t-shirts. Like I wanted t-shirts as much as possible. So now that was kind of eye-opening to see is like, who am I marketing to? Like, who is my customer? What generation do they fall in where they feel like this is more of a prime thing than? It's
kind of interesting that we're almost getting into how the industry has changed a little bit. So, the book that I just did, right? I talked to a whole bunch of people, and one of the surprising things that, I kind of knew, but didn't really know till you talk to enough people, is just how many folks have actually shifted and started doing things differently because they follow where the money is. And then other people don't move from that position, and then they have challenges because of that, right? And so this is why you're seeing a lot of, like, the print on demand. You're seeing a lot of stuff with DTF and DTG. You're seeing a lot of people just sell all their equipment and just do sales. And you have other people do all their production for them, because that's how the promo industry's done things forever, and they just get tired of the trying to keep payroll going and doing things right. And one of the surprising thing that I really learned was there's this whole mindset that your shop is based on your revenue and your capacity and how many shirts we can print and all this stuff. But the actual orders are skewing smaller. Your turn times are dropping. There's a lot of emphasis now on speed more than anything. And if you can't get what I need from a sales standpoint in 5 or 10 minutes, I'm going to buy it from somebody else. And so this is why AI is making a huge play here. This is why everybody's doing that with sales, doing that with art, they're doing that with platforms. This is why we're seeing a lot of vibe coding now, where people are building their own software with AI because the tools that we have in the industry aren't keeping up. And so it's really interesting how a lot of stuff has changed. And people now are reacting to that. And
Well, it's funny.
They're confused by it, or they're scared of it, and other people have like they're all in, and they've dumped all their equipment, and all they do is DTF now.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up too, because that was something I think it was me and Tony were talking about, and he kind of, the way he said it, I never really thought about it this way, is, we build these shops, we buy these crazy autos that, can do 800 an hour and whatever else. And we buy the laser, we buy all this equipment, we do this whole thing. And it's like you said, like the current customer is like, I want it and I want it now. And I want, this complicated print or this thing or whatever. And it's like, we're diving into this production model that is built for large runs. Like our, 16 color gauntlet is printing mostly, 50 to 100 to 200 pieces for a 1 color print or a 8 color print or whatever it is. And it's like, that thing is built to do a 10 or a 12 color print, like 10,000 pieces.
Yeah.
But we're over here printing a 25 piece order on it. And we're making money. Screens, and we're spending all this money on this equipment and these inks and everything to get this whole huge, like heavy pre-press thing to do 50 pieces.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like the printers, like myself included, are like struggling and fighting to be like, well, this is the method, this is what I want to do. But the reality of it is there's all these other methods now too that are kind of catered to this, like, okay, I need 20 shirts and I need it tomorrow.
Yeah. Like, so what you're going to see, right, is, and what I really want to emphasize here is not necessarily you, but a lot of people haven't ever done the math on what it costs to make an imprint. Your average imprint cost, right, is what? Cost per imprint. So, that 50 piece job that you're running on that auto, right? What does that cost you to actually run that job compared to doing that as a transfer? But you can get that order completed before you burn those screens.
In most cases,
right? And for sure. So, because like if you have a dual fusion, right? You're printing a shirt, you're decorating a shirt, 2 shirts a minute or so, right? So that job, a 50 piece job with a design on it, it's 15 minutes maybe on a heat press, and you're done, right? And it's boxed up and ready to ship. And so, and I think a lot of folks, I'm putting my screen printer glasses on, and everything has to look like screen printing because I'm a screen printer, as opposed to an entrepreneur or a business person's standpoint, which is where a lot of people are entering the industry right now because they're skipping the screen printing part and they're going straight to DTF. And they're also using services like MOQ1 or whatever, where they're not even doing any of the production. They're just setting up their online stores and targeting somewhere to do the production for them. And they're just making the money without ever touching anything.
Right.
And
well, I mean, the hard part is that some of us have been doing this for a long time. Like we have the screen printer heart, we have the quality of heart, we are like the craft of this or the whatever. And it's like, you just need to, at some point, like decide, are you in it for the craft or are you in it for the money? Or are you kind of like, well, I want to make sure that my customer is getting the highest quality possible. But also in that, it's like, you need to be like, well, can it be a little of both? And that's kind of where I stand, is like, I like the idea of it being a little of both because like, yeah, I could screen print. We had this exact example yesterday where a good customer of ours came and they were like, hey, we want this thing. And I looked at it, and I know we've been doing a shitload of testing with DTF to get things to be to a certain level. And it's like, all right, we have these programs now that are pulling out as much colors as possible and half toning certain things. There's no like hard edges. There's no like solid sheet of plasticky, whatever feel. And honestly, most of the DTF we order nowadays doesn't even really have that feel because things are more matte now, things with post pressing, like all these other, the powders and films are doing. Again, I'm not trying to do this like whole thing with DTF. I'm just saying that like we have it now where we could totally do this job that they're asking us to do. It's this like color pencil drawing. It's got like 20 colors in it. It's this, this comic book thing or whatever. And the customer's just like, hey, I need a couple hundred of these. This is what I want to do. Well, my first thought was, oh, this is a perfect candidate for DTF. And then I was like, all right, well, we could do this and I'll run it through the program. I'll do this. And, I'll send them a sample just because they're used to screen printing, but I want them to see and feel what this is going to be like. And then I went into the art department and talked to Brian, and then he was like, we could definitely screen print this. It's going to be, 8-10 colors, whatever, but like, it's totally doable. But then I kind of looked at it and I'm like, all right, cool. Well, we could do both. Like, both are a great option. Maybe I'll even order some DTF to do side-by-side comparisons, whatever. But that's where it boils down to, is like, I think honestly, both would be good quality for the customer. Like, but now I'm looking at it on our side of what's going to be more beneficial. Cause the thing is it's under a time constraint too. Like, they want these shirts by next Friday. And I'm like, all right, well, I could do it in DTF, but if I order it from the place we currently order it, we wouldn't have the transfers until Monday or Tuesday. And then someone would have to press them. But if I did this as screen print, we could potentially be doing this tomorrow. And, that's going to help with the time or whatever. So now I'm looking at it not necessarily as a quality standpoint. I'm looking at it as logistics of like, what's going to get to the customer faster, what's going to be more consistent, what's going to whatever. So I think for a lot of us, that's the problem we had over the last 3-4 years was first DTF we saw just looked like a giant fucking sheet of plastic on a shirt. And it had this crinkly feel. It felt like those like tablecloths you would put on like a picnic table. I was like, oh, this is gross. I don't like this. But like nowadays, there still is that if there's people who aren't educated and aren't doing the right things, they're just printing a sheet of whatever and printing it.
There's bad screen printing. There's bad DTF. There's bad DTG. There's bad embroidery. There's bad everything. Okay.
Right.
If you're really looking for it, you can find it. Okay. There's also people who know what they're doing. So,
right.
And to me, you gotta figure out what's right for you from a time standpoint, from a profit standpoint, from a pain in the ass standpoint. Also, what's right for your customer? What does your customer want? And it's great that you're looking at this, right? And I would also say to your customer, I could do both of these this way. This is what this costs. This is what this costs. You pick, right? That's not wrong either, right? And I
think what I'm trying to say is that for a lot of us printers that are for the craft mostly, and then there's the money aspect or the whatever on top of it, I think that's where a lot of us have a hard time with any of these digital products is, well, the quality isn't as good. And that's where I'm kind of like, yeah, the quality isn't as good in most cases, but does it get the customer what they need, and does it get them happy, and is it going to be a good quality? Is it going to whatever? So, but what I'm trying to say is, with certain methods and education and figuring things out, like you can kind of get real close and your customer is going to be happy. Like, do I have to turn down a customer because I'm like, oh, I can't print this, like I can't screen print this or whatever, or I can't whatever. And now I'm like, well, they're happy now because I found a solution for them. It might not be exactly what they wanted or exactly what they were envisioning, but they got it.
So, what's funny is that when you mention quality, right? In my head, my version of quality, I bet doesn't match yours. It doesn't match somebody else's. If you talk to anybody, Lon Winters or Rick Roth or Eric Solomon or whoever, right? Their version of quality differs between those guys, right? And
for sure.
What does quality mean to your end client? Go to any retail store, right? And look at the shirts that Nike or Under Armour or Adidas, whoever are pumping out, Old Navy, a huge chunk of them are transfers, right? And people are gobbling them up like crazy. I think the end customer, just wants a shirt. They don't really care. My son, Jack, he's in college, right? His favorite shirt of all time, is a shirt with Kobe Bryant on it when he scored like 100 points or whatever it was. And it's this transfer that feels like it's like 4 millimeters thick. It's this crazy thing. He doesn't care about the print because it's the image that he wants.
Well, it's the connection. It's the emotional connection that he has with it.
And of course, being my son, he knows everything about everything, because as soon as he ever gets a shirt, I'm like dissecting it. Like, he goes, Dad, this is a transfer. And he knows all that stuff, right? Order from Fanatics. All you get is transfers, right? So the end customer, right? I think these days is probably less picky than most shops think about, right? Granted, there are some people that are way into the print, just like there's people who are into hand printed, let your box kind of printing, right? Just there's people who like that. There's people who are happy just go down to Kinko's, right, for printing. Okay, so it's what does it cost? What's the profit on it? What's the end use case? What makes the customer the happiest? All those things are important to weigh here for lots of people. Right.
And I think that's what it's boiling down to. I mean, again, I don't want to talk about DCF as much anymore because I feel like that fucking beating a dead horse with that whole thing. But it's kind of like, I want to screen print as much as possible. I want to look at quality. I want to look at this thing, but I also, that's kind of circling back to what I was talking about earlier, is like my whole career has been like, how do we print this the best? How do we get this thing or whatever? And then I realized that like business suffers because I'm too concerned about certain parts of the craft. You know what I mean? I'm like, my head's too in this thing of like, how do we screen print this? How do we whatever? When I'm like, all right, well, what I should have done is I could have taken 5 other orders in a different method and we would be more profitable and we would have more money to play with the craft of screen printing and everything if I would have gone these other routes or played with these other methods.
Do you have a decision tree that's a process?
You saying decision tree alone made me cringe, probably not.
So this is a way that we can evaluate something and pick the best method that's going to make the customer happy and make us the most money. Yeah. And so you can overthink things, you can do stuff. And I'm sure there's tons of people who it's got to be exactly right. And I'm that guy too. I like things exactly right. That's the whole reason why I got into doing operations, because I was never happy. Okay. And, I was always like, hey, there's got to be a better way. Why don't we look at this stuff? Right. And, how come we can't print PMS 202? How come it's always pink? And it's because we're using the wrong color underbase, you dolt, right? So like you start looking at this stuff and then you decide, okay, let's start experimenting, and then you find the solution, right?
Yeah.
Everybody goes through that, right? And I think right now, think about, transfers have been out for a really long time, but not to the degree that they are now. And certainly I think what's really exacerbated the whole growth here is the print on demand online store thing, right? And if that didn't exist, I don't think transfers would be where they are now.
It wouldn't be as big of a deal because people wouldn't be used to getting things in like 3 days.
Yeah, well, like it's funny, when I was interviewing people for the book, I ask a billion questions and, what's your turn time? And some people are still like 2 weeks. Right. And other people, they're like, their average turn time is 3 days.
Yeah.
For anything. Right. And not just print on demand, but like a normal order. Right. And it's just because of where they're located. Right. And they've built their processes. They happen to live within, they're in this one shop is in the Dallas area, and he's within.
Right. SNS is in your backyard.
SNS and Sanmar are both within 4 miles of him. He doesn't wait for the shipment. He gets everything's will call. He goes down there and picks it up, brings it back. It's checked in, and we're printing the next day. And that's just how they do things there, right? And they're all about speed. And but that's his process, right? And that's what he offers. He offers the speed. People pay for speed. Speed's worth money, because these days, you're decorating a shirt. Yeah. How many other people where you live do the same thing around you? Yeah. What makes you different than everybody else? Everybody else can print with quality. Everybody else can match a Pantone. Everybody else can. What makes you different? Is it speed? Is it your art department? Is it your frictionless? It's your guarantee policy. I mean, whatever it is.
Well, to that point, and kind of what we were talking about printers diving too deep into the quality and all these other things. Again, I appreciate it more than most, but what I found in that pursuit of outbound and, going after new customers or whatever is it's such bullshit to just like be that, like in your pitch to somebody as an owner or as a screen printer, you always want to say like top quality printing and ours will be better. And it's this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, dude, they don't care. Like they just like most of it is customer service. I feel like 99% of what it is that they want from you is customer service. Like they want you to answer them, be polite. They want quick responses. They want you to be helpful. They want, if you don't do something, for you to refer them to somebody or something that does. They want, they want to be handheld. They want their shirts. They want it right. They don't want to order shirts with you and then get them and then have a couple things be wrong, but it's not enough to worry about complaining. It's just like they want it to be done and they want it to be done right. And they want the person who did it for them to like, they don't want to have to think about it. Nobody wants to order shirts that doesn't know anything about shirts and go online and have to learn about screen printing in order to order shirts. They just want to be like, hey, I need this. I need 200 shirts with this logo on it. I work at this company. They made me be the one to have to order them. They just want it to be an easy process and move on. They don't care if you're going to be like, well, I only print with these types of inks and this thing, and this is the process. They're like, I don't give a shit, dude. I just want some shirts. Like,
well, yeah, that's one version of it, right? But there's plenty others. But I think because what makes this industry interesting is that everybody's into a lot of things, and it's there's some people who are contracts, some people are retail, some people do businesses, some people do schools, some people do influencer brands, some people just do all online stores. Some people do huge orders. I was in the huge order business for a long time, right? And a lot of people just have different little areas of expertise, right? And I think that's what makes this industry really fascinating. There's people who I think are extremely transactional in how they look at their business and how they operate their business, which is why they can't ever get out of the pricing problem, because they don't know how to talk to people or how to do anything, right? And they chase orders all the time, right? All they do is chase orders.
If I'm being completely honest and vulnerable, is like, that's my biggest fear.
Yeah.
Like my biggest fear is becoming one of the shops where it's like, I just need money and I just need these orders and I just need whatever. Like I love doing this. Like I love creating things. I love when we have a print that we all go out and we look at it and we dissect it and we're like, oh, it's really cool how this blended here. And like Brian did a print the other day where he was like, oh, I just put blue under all this stuff and it made all this like dropouts look this way and whatever. And I was like I had a spark of like, oh, that's exciting. Like I like this. Like I'm glad we could do this. And it was just awesome to see. Mm-hmm. And I think as a business owner too, not just a screen printer, like I hate the fact that I have to look at both. Like I hate the fact that I have to like do business and be a manager and think about profits and money and this and that. And then also be like, but I like the art of this.
Well, let me tell you, Dylan, this is the reason, like, remember before we booked the call, I told you I have a hard stop. That was my alarm. I've got a coaching call in 10 minutes, so I'll have to jump in a minute. But that's why I stay in business. And that's because there's a lot of shops out there where they're creative people, they're printers or they're embroiderers or whatever, and they really need some help with understanding how to make more profit and help them with their workflow or help them with their leadership development for their team or whatever, right? That's what I do. And I've been doing it for a long time. And that's why we started Shirt Lab, right? Is because I think this industry really needs some better level of education, right? And that's why we started that, right? And we're still doing it to this day, right? We do live events and other things. And you don't have to know everything in this industry, right? There's people who have experience or they can connect you with other folks. I don't have to know everything because I know other people who are experts at whatever. Yeah. And I can send them a text message and get the answer in probably 10 minutes, right? I know a lot because I've been doing it for so long, but there's some things I'm like, I'm kind of iffy on that. How does that work?
And I think the thing is too, is like with this episode, we kind of went off the rails on a bunch of different things and talked about whatever. And I feel like there's a level of stress of like, how do we organize things on the schedule? How do we make sure we're using the right print method, be digital or screen or whatever, or me talking about salespeople or this and that. I think there's a level of stress to that, but like I want people to be assured that that's just what I'm going through at this moment, because I've been doing this for X amount of years, and every day, every month, every whatever is just a new learning opportunity on how to make things better. So that's just me putting words out there. I don't want people to be like, oh, I have to know all of these things and I have to stress about it. It's like, no, like I'm just in my own creative process with like trying to better myself and my shop. And that's where my head's at. But again, like if you're in a spot where business is running and doing a thing, maybe it's not a bad idea to reach out to a consultant or do a shirt lab or do there's all these education things out there and the topics you want to do. Or there's people like Marshall making a book that, your book is free, correct?
It is free. And you'll share the link, right?
Yeah, I'll put it in the thing.
Yeah, so
can you real quick before you leave? I want you to tell people what this book is about.
I'll tell you about the book, and there's two things I want people to leave with. All right, so the book is called 2026 Thinking, and right before Thanksgiving of last year, one of my coaching clients asked me, "Hey, Marshall, what do you think 2026 is going to be like?" And I kind of have my own opinion. I thought, well, I wonder what other people might think, right? So I started scheduling discussions with folks. I wanted to get to 100 shops, right? And I got to 88. And I had actually 97 people booked, but I had to write the book and I had to cut them off right at one point.
That was me. I was one of those people, just so you know.
And so I kept, some people kept, I'll schedule, and they just never did, or they scheduled and some came up and they had to move it. So I did 88. I
was in Vegas.
88 people. And some of these, most of these conversations around 30 minutes, 45 minutes, one or two were over there an hour, right? And it was just, I asked everybody the same set of questions, and the book is what they said, right? Most of the book is people's opinions, not my opinion, right? I just kind of like try to connect the dots a little bit. And so the book is 100% free. It's just what this industry thinks. And there's really huge shops. There's really tiny shops. There's people in other countries. There's folks that make equipment, make the ink, make the shirts. There's a software people. There's a lot of different voices in this book, and everybody has a kind of different take on things, but there's a lot of stuff that's the same. And I think there's a couple takeaways that real quick. I think if you want to get better, you have to lean into what you've been avoiding. So if there's something that you're not really good at, you really need
to tattoo that on my fucking forehead.
You really need to lean into that, because you not doing that, right, is costing you something that you don't even know what that is, right? So lean into that. The other thing I'll tell you is there's a chapter in the book, I think it's like page 100, something like that, where I look at the different levels of the industry. And a lot of people are really at the transactional level, right? And there's other people who are cleaning up. They're getting all the work. They're doing all the stuff. They've got really super loyal clients. Why is that? And what I'll tell you is that their customers do not see them as vendors. Their customers see them as partners, that they can't do whatever they do without them. And so if you want to build a lasting business that's going to stick around for a really long time and have customers that not only are loyal to you, but are evangelists that bring you other customers, that's where you need to play. You need to be a partner. And so how you become a partner is by listening to your customers and really understanding whatever they're going after and all of that stuff. And I think a lot of times we're just trying to sell stuff. We're just need an order. I just need an order. I got to make payroll. we're going to do contract real quick because I got to meet payroll. Okay. Instead of going after customers that really make a difference, we tend to do that kind of stuff. Right.
I agree with you fully.
There's a lot of reasons to make payroll, trust me. Okay. But what you want more than anything is to build a viable business that's profitable, that is doing well. Right. And so that lane, how to be a partner, is something I think most people haven't really explored, because they're the same people who are posting on Facebook where they got a 500 piece order and they want a price check, right? They don't even know how to make money, right? And because they don't know their math, they don't know about things. And there's ways to do that. Asking that question on Facebook isn't probably the way to go, right? So
yeah, I agree. Well, anyway, I appreciate you, Marshall. Thank you for doing this. I know you got to run.
I do. So
I think we'll have to do a part 2 on how to be a partner. But I appreciate you.
Hey, I love what you're doing. Keep it up. This show rocks.
Thank you.
You do a great job, so keep it up. And
thank you, sir.
Thanks, everyone. And if you've got any questions about anything I do or Shirt Lab or whatever, just reach out.
Cool. What is the best way to reach out to you, Marshall?
You can go to my website, AtkinsonT-shirt.com, or you can go to shirtlabtribe.com. Both of those have all types of information on there where you can get over.
Cool. Thanks, man.
All right.
I will see you later.
Take care.
Later.
Thanks.